Welcome to this podcast episode brought to you by AGS Agriculture Global Solutions, your partner for better oil palm farming.
Right on.
Today, we are exploring exactly why your yields might be lower than expected and the specific everyday management practices you can change right now to drastically increase your production and income. Register now on cropdrive.ai. Use the tool completely free of charge, no hidden fees, no conditions. CropDrive helps you improve your oil palm growing skills. Subscribe to our channel so you do not miss key oil palm best practice episodes.
Absolutely. It's so important to stay updated.
Exactly. So I want to jump right into this deep dive. What if I told you that every time you look out at your plantation, you are, only seeing maybe 42% of the money sitting in your soil?
That's a crazy thought, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine that more than half your potential paycheck is completely invisible. It's just locked away by, well, basically just 4 daily habits.
Yeah, it is a really staggering reality and, frankly, a pretty painful one for independent smallholder farmers.
Oh, for sure.
But, there is some incredibly empowering news on this front today. We finally have hard operational data.
Nice. Where is this data coming from?
So there's this major 2023 study out of Indonesia, and they didn't just look at a handful of places. They tracked 977 independent smallholder farms over 2 full years.
Wow, almost 1,000 farms over 2 years. That's a massive commitment.
It really is. These scientists, they got out into the real world. They measured the fresh fruit bunch yields, the daily management habits, and they actually mapped the fields across mineral soils in Sumatra and Kalimantan.
Okay, so they didn't just run like theoretical computer models in a lab somewhere.
Exactly, no.
They watched what real farmers, guys with probably about a decade of experience, were actually doing on their 3-hectare plots day in and day out.
Yeah, that was the whole point. And when they finally crunched the numbers, the math was just brutal.
How bad are we talking?
Well, they found that current fresh fruit bunch, or FFB, yields on smallholder farms represent only 42% of their potential production capacity.
Wait, 42%? Just 42?
Yeah. On average, the fields in the study were producing about 13.9 tons of FFB per hectare per year.
Okay, 13.9 tons, but what's the actual biological ceiling there?
So when the researchers analyzed the local weather, the rainfall and the soil conditions, they found that the ceiling for those exact fields is actually over 30 tons per hectare.
Oh man, 13.9 tons when they could be pulling in over 30. That is a massive volume of fruit just, vanishing.
Vanishing completely.
It's like owning a heavy-duty truck but driving it around with the emergency brake permanently engaged. I mean, the engine capacity is right there in the soil. The fuel is falling from the sky as rain, but something mechanical is just holding it all back.
That is a perfect analogy, yeah. And that gap, between what you are producing and what you could be producing, it's actually especially severe in younger plantations.
Really? Like how young?
Specifically those around 5 to 10 years old.
Wait, why is the gap so massive for the young trees? Because biologically, you would think palms at that age are just entering their prime, right? Like, they should be bursting with energy and throwing out huge bunches.
They absolutely should be. With oil palm, there is a natural physiological productivity peak that happens right during those early mature years.
Right?
The canopy is closing, the root systems are aggressively expanding, and the palm is structurally preparing to carry its peak bunch loads.
So what goes wrong?
Well, because of poor early management, basically starving the tree or stressing it out early on, many farmers completely stunk that architectural development. They totally missed that massive surge in FFB production.
Ouch. And because a standard plantation cycle lasts, what, about 25 years?
Yeah, usually around 25 years.
So if you mess up the structural foundation of the tree in year 6, you are basically paying for that mistake for the next 2 decades.
Precisely. The early mistakes just compound over time. Now, to be fair, the researchers were very practical about this. So they recognized there are biological factors farmers simply cannot change right now. I mean, you cannot magically age your palms, right?
Right, obviously.
And you cannot swap out your genetics overnight. The study actually found that about 51% of the palms were durapalms.
Oh, wow. So there's widespread use of uncertified seeds.
Exactly.
And just so we have the biology clear on that for the listeners, durapalms have that massive, thick shell and a very thin mesocarp, right?
Yeah, the fleshy part is very thin.
Which means a much lower oil extraction rate at the mill. But, I mean, a smallholder farmer can't just bulldoze their 3 hectares tomorrow and start over with certified tenera seeds.
No, of course not. Replanting requires immense capital and years of literally zero income. No one could afford to just hit reset like that.
Exactly. We have to work with the hand we are dealt today.
Right. So the researchers isolated strictly what can be controlled right now. They identified 4 main management practices that act as that emergency brake on your yields.
Okay, let's unpack these. What are the 4 culprits?
Number 1, nutrient management, basically fertilizer. Number 2, harvest timing and criteria. Number 3, weed control. And number 4, pruning practices.
Okay, stop right there. Let me push back on this a bit on behalf of the farmers listening.
Sure, go ahead.
Fertilizer prices have absolutely skyrocketed globally. Margins are razor thin right now. Are you seriously telling a smallholder farmer on a super tight budget to take on debt just to dump expensive chemicals into the dirt before they even see a single extra fruit?
Look, I get it. It is a terrifying financial proposition, and the researchers saw that fear firsthand. That is why the study found that 50% of the farms were applying absolutely no fertilizer at all.
Wait, 50%, half of them, zero fertilizer.
Zero. Nothing.
So half of them are just hoping the soil naturally has enough food left in it to somehow build 30 tons of fruit out of thin air.
Pretty much. And biologically, it just cannot do that. The trees are quite literally starving to death.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. To hit those higher yields, the data clearly showed that the successful farms applied average rates of about 42 kilograms of nitrogen, 12 kilograms of phosphorus, and 44 kilograms of potassium per hectare every single year.
Okay, let's break that down because we all know the NPK ratio on the side of the bag, but we rarely talk about the underlying mechanisms in a deep dive like this.
Yeah, the biology is fascinating.
Why is potassium the massive dividing line between low and high yields? What is that 44 kilograms of potassium actually doing inside the palm?
Potassium is basically the master regulator for oil palms. First off, it controls the stomata.
The stomata. Those are the tiny pores on the leaves.
Exactly, the pores on the palm fronds. Without adequate potassium, the palm cannot close those pores efficiently.
So it just leaks water.
Yes, it loses massive amounts of water and becomes immediately drought-stressed, even during really mild, dry spells.
Wow, okay. And what's the second thing it does?
Second, potassium is a primary transport vehicle. It physically moves the sugars generated by photosynthesis down into the fruit bunches.
Ah, I see. So without potassium, the factory up in the leaves might be running, but the delivery trucks are broken.
That's a great way to put it.
The sugars never make it to the bunch, so the bunch weight stays incredibly low.
Exactly. And that potassium works synergistically with the other nutrients. You need the 42 kilograms of nitrogen to build a massive dark green canopy to actually capture the sunlight first.
Yes, right. You need the solar panels.
Yeah. And then you need the 12 kilograms of phosphorus to build the dense, fibrous root system necessary to actually absorb all that potassium from the soil.
It's a complete system.
It is.
Yeah.
If you skip feeding them, you don't just lose a little weight. The tree literally shuts down reproductive function just to survive.
So even if farmer mortgages their tractor to buy those 44 kilos of potassium, it won't matter if they leave the resulting fruit rotting on the tree. Which I guess brings us to the actual harvest.
Yeah, harvest timing is the second massive emergency brake.
What does the baseline look like for the average farmer?
The average farmer in the study was waiting 19 days between harvests.
19 days.
Yeah, and in some regions like West Kalimantan, they were stretching it up to 25 days.
A 25-day interval. Biologically, what happens to an oil palm bunch when it just sits on the tree for over 3 weeks?
You are literally bleeding yield onto the ground.
Yeah.
The most successful farmers shorten their harvest interval to 10 to 15 days max.
Because if you wait 25 days...
When you stretch it to 3 or 4 weeks, the bunches become completely overripe. The outer fruits detach and fall into the weed base, where they're eaten by rats or they just rot, or they're lost entirely.
And I imagine the issue isn't just the calendar schedule, right? It's also the visual trigger farmers are using to decide when to actually swing the sickle.
Oh, that is the critical behavioral shift. Many farmers make the biological mistake of using bunch color to determine ripeness.
Like waiting for it to turn orange.
Yeah, they wait until the entire bunch turns a specific uniform reddish orange.
But color is a liar, isn't it? Judging a bunch by its color is essentially trusting the outside paint job of a car when the engine isn't even built yet.
Yep.
I mean, color changes based on genetics or even just how much direct sunlight a specific side of the bunch receives, doesn't it?
That is exactly the mechanism at play. The sunlight triggers pigment changes on the skin, but not necessarily oil synthesis inside. The only true biological indicator of maximum ripeness is the natural detachment of loose fruits from the socket.
Okay, Walk us through that mechanism. Why does the loose fruit dictate the oil content?
So inside the mesocarp, the fleshy part of the fruit we talked about, oil synthesis, is a continuous process. The plant keeps pumping lipids into that fruit right up until the very final second.
Right.
The biological signal that the fruit has reached its absolute maximum possible oil content is the abscission layer weakening.
Meaning the stem connection breaks.
Exactly, which drops the fruit. If you cut the bunch early because the color looked nice, you sever that pipeline prematurely.
Oh, wow. So you are permanently locking in a lower oil extraction rate.
Yes, you are robbing yourself.
So you have to let the loose fruits dictate the harvest. But if you wait too long, like that 25-day interval we mentioned, you aren't gaining more oil, right?
No, actually, you are actively destroying it.
Destroying it. How?
Once the fruit drops, an enzyme called lipase activates, and it begins rapidly breaking down the good oil into free fatty acids, or FFA.
Ah, FFA. I know mills hate that.
They rigorously penalize high FFA content because it severely degrades the quality of the final palm oil. So by waiting 25 days, you lose tonnage to the ground, and you lose quality to enzymatic breakdown.
That is a lose-lose situation.
Total lose-lose. A 10 to 15-day cycle captures the fruit at its absolute peak weight and its absolute peak chemical quality.
That makes perfect sense. But let's look at the reality on the ground. You can have the perfect 44 kilos of potassium in the soil, and you can map out a strict 14-day harvest schedule on your calendar. But if you can't physically reach the trees, you are completely dead in the water.
Oh, absolutely.
Which leads us directly into the third and fourth culprits, weeds and pruning.
And they are completely interconnected. It's wild. A staggering 80% of the fields in this study had severe weed infestations.
80%. So the vast majority of people listening right now are probably looking out at a literal carpet of weeds in their fields.
Almost certainly, yeah.
What is the actual underground warfare happening there?
It is a fierce biological competition. Weeds, especially woody shrubs and aggressive grasses, have incredibly dense, shallow root systems.
Okay.
Well, oil palms also rely on a massive network of shallow tertiary feeder roots right in the topsoil to grab nutrients.
Ah, so they're fighting for the same space.
Exactly. When you broadcast your highly expensive NPK fertilizer, the weed roots act like a giant sponge. They intercept the nitrogen and the potassium long before the palm's feeder roots ever get a chance to absorb it.
Oh, that is painful to think about. So
Yeah.
by skipping the herbicide or skipping the manual weeding just to save a few dollars on daily labor, you are quite literally buying premium fertilizer just to grow premium weeds.
You are financing your own yield destruction. That's exactly what you're doing.
Wow.
And, it gets even worse when you look up at the canopy. The study found that only 1 in 4 fields were being pruned properly.
Wait, only 1 in 4? Meaning 75% of fields are either severely over-pruned or totally under-pruned?
Yeah, mostly a mix of both across different farms.
Let's break down the mechanics of both extremes because I see this all the time. What happens to the palm when a farmer over-prunes? Maybe they are aggressively hacking off green fronds just to make harvesting access easier for themselves?
It's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
When you over-prune, you are essentially destroying the palm's photosynthetic factory.
The solar panels we talked about earlier.
Right. The fronds are the solar panels. When you remove healthy, functional green fronds, the tree registers massive physiological stress. The overall leaf area index drops dramatically.
So it can't produce enough energy.
Exactly. The palm physically does not have the energy to support fruit development. So it reacts defensively by shifting its sex ratio.
Shifting its sex ratio, what does that mean?
It starts producing far more male inflorescences, which yield absolutely no fruit, and it actively aborts the female inflorescences before they can even develop into bunches.
That is fascinating. So the tree literally changes its sexual expression to survive the stress of you chopping off its solar panels.
Biology is amazing, but yeah, it hurts your wallet.
Now, what about the other extreme? What happens when a farmer under-prunes and just leaves dead and dying fronds hanging all over the trunk?
Under-pruning creates this cascading failure across all your other management practices. First off, those dead fronds harbor pests and fungal diseases.
Right, it's like a hotel for bugs.
Exactly. And second, they act as a physical barrier. When a harvester walks up to an under-pruned palm, they physically cannot see the loose fruits hiding in the frond bases.
Ah, and if they can't see the loose fruits, they can't execute the 10 to 15-day harvest criteria we just established is so important.
Exactly. The whole system breaks down. Furthermore, when they finally do try to harvest, their sickle gets caught in the dead fronds. It takes twice as much time and physical energy to cut down a single bunch.
Yeah, I've seen guys struggling with that. It looks exhausting.
It is. You cannot maintain a rapid 10 to 14-day harvest interval across 3 hectares if your laborers are spending 10 minutes fighting through a jungle of dead fronds on every single tree.
It really is an entirely locked system, isn't it?
It really is.
You prune correctly to see the loose fruits, so you can execute the 14-day harvest cycle.
Yep.
You clear the weeds, so your 44 kilograms of potassium actually makes it into the palm stomata, which drives the bunch weight up precisely at the moment the loose fruits tell you it's fully mature.
Exactly. When you align those 4 practices, the tree functions as a highly optimized biological machine. But when you neglect them, the machine just seizes up.
Okay, I want to bring this all back to the wallet, because at the end of the day, farming is a business.
Always.
Applying optimal fertilizer, paying for strict weed control, and keeping a tight pruning schedule, this all requires upfront cash. The researchers looked at the financials for the year 2021 in this study, right? What was the baseline profit for these independent farmers?
So the average net profit across the study was about $1960 per hectare.
Okay, so $1960 per hectare is our starting line. When farmers inevitably try to cut costs to protect that margin, when they say, I'm skipping the potassium this year and I'll just let the weeds grow, what actually happens to their bottom line?
It creates a massive false economy.
How so?
The researchers found that trying to save money by cutting essential upkeep actively hurts your overall profit. I mean, yes, fertilizer accounted for roughly half of the total production costs. That's scary.
It is, yeah.
But the farmers who skipped it saw their yields plummet so severely that the few $100s they saved up front was completely wiped out.
Wiped out by what?
By the thousands of dollars they lost in rejected or missing tonnage at the mill.
Oh, wow. So trying to keep your daily expenses down makes you significantly poorer at the end of the year.
The data proved it definitively. The farmers who actually spent the capital on these crucial yield-improving practices made significantly more net profit. By properly managing those 4 areas, some fields in the study were pulling in over $4,600 per hectare in net profit.
Hold on. $4,600. That is more than double the average baseline of 1960.
Yes, more than double.
That is the difference between struggling to break even and actually building generational wealth for your family. The yield gap between 13.9 tons and 30 tons isn't just some agronomy statistic. It is a massive profit gap.
It is entirely about household income. When you release that emergency brake, when you feed the roots, when you time the harvest to the loose fruits, and when you maintain a clean, well-pruned environment, your financial returns just accelerate rapidly.
This has been incredibly eye-opening. We have really explored the underlying biology of your fields today. We've gone from the shock of the from 2% reality to understanding exactly how potassium regulates the stomata to the enzymatic breakdown of overripe fruit and the brutal math of weed competition.
It's a lot to take in, but it's so vital.
It really is. You simply cannot afford to starve your trees or leave your fruit rotting on a 25-day cycle. But if I can leave you with one thought to ponder today as you walk your fields, it's this. If just shifting your harvest timing from 19 days to 14 days and training your eyes to look for loose fruits instead of a perfect color can help unlock that hidden 58% of your farm's potential, what is one small change you can start making tomorrow morning that costs you absolutely nothing but a simple shift in your daily routine?
Remember to visit our AI farming assistant at cropdrive.ai to learn more on how to increase your oil palm yields and incomes. Thanks for listening.